My girlfriend joked that I should compete for her attention with her male friends while I paid her rent, so I walked away and let her face the fallout. Male, 25 here, and I've been supporting my girlfriend for a while now. We've been together for over 4 years without any breaks or issues between us. We met in a workshop for one of the optional classes I was taking for extra credit, and she ended up asking me for a coffee. For a couple who's been together for over 4 years, you'd think we would have had our fair share of arguments and breakups before we reached a stage where I'm comfortable helping her out with paying her rent. But no, we didn't really have any major fights. I wasn't supporting her from the start as we both had decent jobs right off the bat after graduation. But 2 years in, she said she wanted to follow her dream and pursue independent media. I wanted her to be happy with the work she did, so I told her she should go after her dream and not worry about how things will work out. In the beginning, it was still okay because she had savings and a plan, but pretty soon it was evident that the company she was trying to establish would take more time to turn in profits. She had used all of her savings and invested everything she got from the sponsors into her company. It came to the point where she was due for rent for over 3 months, and that's when she asked for my help. As soon as I found out, I told her she doesn't have to worry about finances and I'll support her until she starts making some profits. Her moving in with me wasn't an option because she had started the company from her home instead of renting out an office space. That's how we ended up with me supporting her. It was all okay until recently when I noticed a change in her behavior. Her workouts are extending day by day, and on more than one occasion, we've gone for a week without talking, texting, or seeing each other. As much as I understand being engrossed in one's work is important, I do think that a healthy work-life balance is important in a relationship. So last Saturday, I took an early day off and went over to her apartment office in the hopes that I'll be able to get her away from her desk and get some fresh air. I rang the bell and one of her friends let me in. They're all in the same field and she had hired her friends to work for her as freelancers. He made a face after seeing me and it put me on edge. That's how things started going downhill. When I saw my girlfriend, I asked her to wrap up her work for the day so we could go out. Keep in mind, at this point, we've gone for 5 days without seeing or talking to each other. It was the least of my expectations from a girlfriend, and she did say she'd be done in 30 minutes. So I decided to hang around and wait for her. But when she was about to get up to go, her friend came over and asked her where she was going. She told him she was heading out, but he stopped her by saying she needs to put in the same hours as them and as a boss, she shouldn't leave first. Of course, it was all playful jest and we all knew she could have left as she's the owner. But then she said, if he wants her company so badly maybe she'll stick around for a while longer. I was flabbergasted to hear her give up so easily and not consider how I'd feel about her actions. Instead of losing my mind over this whole situation, I told her politely that we haven't spent any time together. And as she's already wrapped up her work, we should go out and enjoy ourselves. At this, she commented that she's liking the attention she was getting, and maybe I should compete for her attention with her male friends. Of course, I knew it was a joke, but I wasn't in the mood for anything funny. And the way she asked me to compete when I'm her boyfriend rubbed me the wrong way. So I took my bag and told her she can enjoy her time with her friends while I go and have the fun I deserve after slaving for the entire week just to pay up her rent. I thought she'd follow me after I walked out, but she didn't come. In fact, all I got was a text from her saying how I behaved was rude and disrespectful in front of her friends, and that I shouldn't have done that. She didn't even mention how she behaved. I was so furious that she'd actually be so ignorant of my feelings and the state of our relationship that I am now rethinking everything. After the weekend fiasco, I decided that I don't want a woman in my life who depends on me for almost everything in her life, and yet chooses to put me second in front of her friend circle. So I called the landlord and told them that I wouldn't be paying the rent for her apartment, and he was free to ask the people living there to evict me. I didn't think the landlord would take action so fast, but today I received a text from my girlfriend asking me why haven't I paid her rent, and why is the landlord at her apartment serving a notice of eviction. She called me a few times too, but I didn't pick up and eventually blocked her from everywhere. She wanted me to play her little games, but instead I chose to let her friends win and walk away. Now, by the number of texts and calls I've gotten in the past 4 hours, it's clear that her life is falling apart and she has no way to save it. She depended on me too much and underestimated how far I can go when I'm detached from a relationship. Of course, all of this is taking a mental toll on me too, and now that the deed is done, I'm second guessing how I went about handling the whole situation. I'm rethinking whether I should have just talked it out like adults, but I'm still very much pissed at how flippantly she behaved the last time I saw her. So I wanted an outside opinion on this matter. Am I the a-hole here for essentially ruining her career and her life, or is she the real a-hole who treated me wrong here? Update 1. I've heard people say before that you'll see someone's true colors when they're at their lowest and struggling. And it is so true because I didn't think my girlfriend was capable of going as far as to frighten me with physical violence. She came over to my apartment last night after a week of me ignoring all her texts and calls. I had the security chain on the door, so I didn't open the door completely. And after she tried to force her way inside, I left the chain closed. She demanded an explanation on why I'd cut off the payments for her apartment's rent without telling her first, and why am I behaving like a child. There was irony in being called childish by someone who was choosing physical violence over civil talk. Anyway, I told her I have nothing to explain to her. She is the one who wanted me to compete for her attention, but I chose to walk away from not being treated the way I deserve. It's her fault for not valuing what she had and not appreciating how much of a help I was in her life. I wouldn't have even paid any attention to the things that were wrong in our relationship if not for her blatantly voicing out loud what she thinks of me and where I stand in her life. That just got her more riled up, and she started to reach out for me to harm me in some way, but I backed off and closed the door. She kept banging on the door for another 15 minutes until I told her I've called 911, and if she doesn't go away she'll be going to jail. I'm very scared right now because for the first time in all our time together, I have realized I don't know the limits she could go to. If anything happens, at least these posts and updates are on account of my side of the story. Update 2. My ex-girlfriend has been following me for a while. Actually, following is putting it mildly. She's turned into a crazy stalker and I'm scared to even go out. I noticed a few weeks ago that she's everywhere I go, and based on pure intuition, I started going around in pairs. I called some of my closest friends and they were ready to help me out. We eventually figured out through keeping an eye out that my ex is following me from my home to work and waiting at a nearby cafe until I'm done. Then she follows my route back home and just stays in the neighborhood park. Yesterday, I confronted her about her behavior. Of course, I didn't go alone. I was expecting a fight or maybe more threats, but instead she started crying and begging me to take her back. She said she was sorry for how she behaved and for not realizing sooner how much I meant to her. She said she has always taken me for granted, but now that I've walked away from her, she has realized I am the only man for her, and she's a fool to let go of me. The apology on its own might have swayed me, but paired with her stalking behavior and the physical threats, I didn't want anything to do with her. I told her that I'd moved on and that what she's been doing is making me unsafe. I asked her to stop and even threatened to report her to the cops if she didn't leave me alone. Update 3. I had to get a restraining order. It was a very exhausting and lengthy process to deal with my ex, but I had no other choice. She kept stalking me and once more tried to forcefully make me come back to her. Thankfully, I had a friend by my side who called the cops and they arrested her. I filed my request for a restraining order because I didn't see any other way to be safe. I'm also going to change my apartment and try my best to keep it a secret from her. I wanted to leave this quick update here because so many of you were worried about me in the comments and the DMs. I'm alright. And for now, it seems like my ex is behaving herself. She got bailed out by someone and hasn't shown up anywhere near me, so I think that's a good start, but I'll still be very careful. NTA, you're not the a-hole. Your girlfriend sounds incredibly immature and she needed her ass to be dumped to realize what's important in life, but you can do a lot better than her. You're still young, so don't waste your energy on people who don't deserve it. NTA. Op is not the a-hole for making the girlfriend realize who exactly she's playing with. I think your mistake was supporting her financially and letting her believe that just because you're dating, she could do anything, but better late than never. What you did was the right thing, and if I was in your place, I would have done the same thing. I am the drama this week. I, 16 male, got myself kicked out of Sunday school at my stepmom's church this weekend. My dad married Brenda earlier this year. She has 4 kids, 12 male, 10 female, 9 female, 7 female, that are with her most of the time. And to say their family is religious is like the understatement of all time. The son has to wear formal clothes all the time and can't style his hair. And they're all at church at least 3 times a week and have family Bible time and stuff every day. I wouldn't care except that now that my dad and Brenda are married, they expect me to participate and that's just not my bag. I think it's superstitious, misandrous nonsense, and I always leave stuff at their church feeling icky. I try to get my dad to let me go to my mom's on Sundays to avoid conflict, but that's a non-starter so far. So I try to avoid talking about it. But Brenda is like making it her personal mission to get me saved or something, so the subject comes up regularly. I finally put my foot down about not wanting to go to church with them, and it turned into a big argument. And my dad asked me to just go and keep the peace for the younger kids because it's something we do as a family. So I go and mostly just read, but I don't lie about why I'm there or my religion. If someone asks me a question, it pisses Brenda and my dad off, but I figure if they don't like it, they can let me stay home. The problem is that the Sunday school teacher for my age group is a real piece of work and thinks we're all stupid because we're teenage boys. So she likes to go into a lot of biblical Greek translation stuff to make herself look smart. The only thing is she's almost always totally wrong. My mom sends me to private school, and I took 2 years of ancient Greek, taking Latin now, and I know she's bullshitting people. So I brought an interlinear New Testament and a Koine Greek dictionary with me this week, and when she got started, I corrected her not mean, but just like, wow, that's not what it says here at all. Can you explain more? And oh, that's weird because that's not how Brill defines that word. Lady was turning red by the end of it and asked me to stop interrupting, so I just shrugged and said I was trying to learn. She told the pastor and the pastor told Brenda that I'm not allowed to come to Sunday school anymore because I'm disrespectful. So, Brenda and my dad are mad and want me to apologize for derailing class instead of just getting through quietly, but I don't know. Ada? Update edit. People keep asking me how it turned out, so here's how it is now. I'm officially living full-time with my mom. My dad is still mad, but he can deal with it. We have a few hours on the weekend away from their house for now, but that's it. Stepmom isn't allowed to contact me. Before I let them know I visited for Christmas to do presents. I left my stepbrother a secret present with a note telling him if he ever needed help or to talk to text me. He texted me thank you, and he won't tell anyone and has been texting me occasionally. So at least right now, if things go squirrely for him, he can get some kind of help if he wants to get out when he's older, and we're still in contact. I talked to my mom and she said she's willing to try to help him if it comes to that because it sounds super culty. He'll be old enough to be emancipated by the time I finish undergrad. So if that's what he wants, maybe we can figure out a roommate situation. NTA. Brenda is way out of line trying to force her religion on you, and your dad is also TA for trying to coerce you into going to her church to keep the peace. Can you talk to your mother about it and ask her to intervene on your behalf? NTA. You proved that the purpose of the Sunday school lesson was not about learning. If it were, the teacher would have been happy to have a discussion with you. The adults who are trying to force you to attend and agree with something that you don't believe in, don't respect your opinions. Yeah. Expect you should respect theirs. That's not how respect works. I 46 female, have a daughter, 18 female in senior year who is with a boy, 18 male for 2 years from her school, and they recently broke up. Her ex-boyfriend is well-mannered and intelligent. Me and my husband both adore him. His parents are the same. They broke up at the end of October after they went to a Halloween party, and he broke up with her. They have despised each other since and would be cold to or about each other. Though she never explained the details of why they broke up and has been extremely hurt by this. A couple of days back, a number was calling me several times in the middle of the night and I answered. It was her ex-boyfriend. He was crying and mumbling. He was going on about his mother and it was all incoherent. He was clearly inebriated and I calmed him down. He was asking me if he could stay in the guest bedroom for the rest of the night, and I told him that he can stay however long he saw fit. Me and my husband included him in breakfast the next morning even though he felt embarrassed, and my daughter joined us, but was clearly flabbergasted by seeing him and was about to leave. Though I encouraged her to sit with us, it was quite awkward to say the least. Though it is evident they clearly still like each other. As I have seen him at our house, he cut his stay short as he said his parents would be worried, and it was better if he started heading home. My daughter offered to drive him home. He just said, "No, thank you," and left. As soon as he left, she got upset at both of us and was wondering why he was here for breakfast. And she told us that we were immensely invasive of a space in her life that is fragile, and I don't respect her boundaries by letting him stay without her knowledge. She told me that I should have at least warned her that he would be here. I was wondering if I was the a-hole for letting him stay, encouraging him to stay for breakfast, and proceeding to not tell her as she was greatly upset by this. ATA, YTA. Helping the kid out during the crisis was the right thing to do. Clearly, he needed a safe place to stay, but you should have woken your daughter up and told her immediately. She should have had a warning and been allowed to stay in her room where you would bring her breakfast so she could choose not to interact with him in the morning if she wasn't comfortable. And you shouldn't be offering to let him stay indefinitely. I get giving him a safe place for that night, but offering to let him stay as long as he needs without even talking to your daughter first shows no regard at all for her feelings or comfort in her own home. Did you date anybody before your husband? Ever had an ex? How can you not get where she's coming from here? I realize that your intentions in helping him were good, but you went about this all wrong and in a way that was a betrayal to your daughter. You and your husband owe her a serious apology. Uda, it doesn't matter how nice he is. It doesn't matter how much you like him. It doesn't matter why they broke up. Your daughter was ambushed by her ex-boyfriend at the breakfast table. I understand letting him stay. An 18-year-old called you incoherently rambling in the middle of the night, and you wanted to help him. Fair enough. That's not why you're ta. It's because you didn't warn your daughter. Would it have killed you to send her a text or go knock on her bedroom door to tell her that he was in the house? Uda. It's not even so much about letting him stay as you haven't discussed enough about your relationship with him. And their breakup to determine how out of line it was, though typically it's not normal behavior. Generally though, most parents have the common courtesy of checking with their child first to make sure they wouldn't be uncomfortable before offering your home for them to stay. However, the least you could have done is forewarned her. Even if you weren't going to give her a say, to blindside her like that first thing in the morning is very much an all move. You made her uncomfortable in her own house. That is a lousy thing to do.